the greatest boxer of all time. And I want it right. In MMA, we've never quite worked out what GOAT means, and we've got this argument. So let me make it real clear for boxing. What boxer could beat every other boxer there ever was? So now that I put it that way, we're instantly in the heavyweight class. Right? I'm not talking about pound for pound, which is meant to say by the author who coined the phrase pound for pound. It's meant to say they weighed the same. Size was not a factor. Who skills would beat who. So I'm just going to say what boxer who beat up all the other boxers takes us to the heavyweight class. I used to have this great argument. And I would hear these people talking about this boxer, and he was so good. They'd be telling all these stories, and it was always Muhammad Ali. Always. I'm going to stop with all that. Just stop. There's no such thing as a great boxer. Just stop with that. But I would then use an example. I would say, tell me somebody that you know that boxes. Tell me one kid you went to school with that boxes. Tell me one kid from the neighborhood. Tell me somebody in your family. And then when people would stand there, absolutely silent. Now, I just say name a boxer. It's something you've heard about on TV. I'm asking you somebody that you know. But then after I would do that, and it was always silence. I never had anybody get me on this game. I would then let you a degree of separation. Tell me someone you know that knows a boxer. It can be your aunt. It can be your teacher. It could be your bus driver. Tell me someone you know that knows a boxer, and they would be absolutely silent. I said, okay, let me go a little bit further. If you want to box tonight, where are you going to go? Meaning, where is there a boxing gym? Where can you even go and do this? It's not in any of the schools. It's not in the college. You can't get scholarships for it. Where are you going to go do it? They'd be dead silent. I'd say, okay, if I told you where a gym was that you could go to, where are you going to get the equipment? Where do you go? You tell me what real boxing is. And boxing is real straight out. Muhammad Ali, he beat all these guys. Okay, great. Where would you even go to get the equipment? And all of a sudden you start to realize, man, this isn't real. It's not real. When you have a sport that's got 10 gyms in the entire country, but it gets to be called a national sport, you see where that starts to be cheating to a degree. It really does. You have the NFL, by example, comes out. They're very honest. They call themselves, right in the name, they're National Football League. But the moment that Super Bowl's done, all the sports reporters refer to them as world champions. It's the National League. They didn't let any other countries in, but they call themselves world champions. Then you have a sport that actually does a world championship. Take that of wrestling. Every country on earth is invited to send one representative one time a year. Straight line bracket, work it down till one guy is left. That's your true world champion. Nobody would disagree. But when you have a National Basketball Association, when you have a National Hockey League, they're admitting. And then you get the Jim Romes and the sports centers and the Levitards of the world that give you your sports news and call them world champions. You see where this gets weird, but I just argue for you. That's what boxing does. You want to be a top 10 boxer? You want your child to be a top 10 boxer, boy or girl? Get them on a scale, figure out what the weight class is. Have them raise their hand. They'll be in the top 10. There are not 10 other people boxing. And all of a sudden, you really start to change people's opinions. Go, God damn. Yeah, that really isn't much of a real sport. My PE teacher taught us everything. They exposed us to everything. They didn't expose us to that. My high school offered absolutely everything. They didn't offer that. And then I would use that argument to put down Muhammad Ali. Say that he wasn't as good as people say. It wouldn't be possible. If you go into a field where you got to beat 8 guys to be the world's best, how could you possibly compare that to somebody like my juiced up buddy LeBron? Everybody plays basketball. They have never built a school in these United States. That's elementary. They have never built a school. There is no blueprint for a school. Hard stop, elementary, middle school, high school, college, never that doesn't have a basketball court. There is not a neighborhood amongst us that just in the neighborhood, there's a basketball court. many, many houses in the driveway. Got a hoop, right? You play basketball ever. So imagine if you're LeBron, if you rise to the top, right? Chemically enhanced or not, you see the difference than having to beat 10 guys. And I would use this. I'm just sharing with you my argument. I know that he was very good. I know he was talented. Come on, stop with all this. And I also, it's very insulting to a craft to say somebody who had their last match in 1980, and it was a loss. Last win was the year I was born in 77 for Muhammad Ali. It's very insulting to a craft to say that somebody from 1980 is the best ever. Because everything in life evolves. It is basic biology. I know you guys love science when it helps you, and you love to push back when it doesn't, but basic biology says you evolve or you become extinct. So to take somebody from 40 plus years ago and declare that he's better than anybody else that has ever done it, it's problematic. These old dogs that don't follow the sport, Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain's the greatest basketball player ever. Then you start to question him just a little bit. Hey, what do you think of the league now? Hey, what do you think of the system we've got now? How's that Steph Curry doing? I quit watching. Oh, okay, and that's why you think Wilt Chamberlain is good. You don't follow anymore. I just bring that to you as an example because I would say this to put down Muhammad Ali. And I went down a Muhammad Ali rabbit hole. Last night, there's a new movie out. It's called Big George Foreman. And George Foreman was something else. I mean, this was the guy, if I could bring anybody in to fight, who I believe is the greatest boxer ever, Mike Tyson. If I could bring anybody, it would be George. It was a style. It was an issue. George could take those shots. You better believe George would take those shots. And he was talking about Muhammad Ali. And I was just getting reminded of the rope-a-dope. I was getting reminded of the Thrill in Manila. Bring in Smoke and Joe into this. It was a very special era. And Muhammad Ali could take those shots too. Muhammad Ali could move. He could trick you. He was very well conditioned. It was 15 rounds back then as opposed to 12. You know the fight where Muhammad Ali quit on the stool. He told his corners, cut my gloves off, I'm done. Cut them off, and they argued with him, and he was not joking. This wasn't to be funny. And they didn't do it. And the opponent quit. The next round never happened. Muhammad Ali said, get these gloves, I'm done. But his opponent did the same thing, and his corner did listen. And he stood up and quit. And it was just one of these interesting things, but I only bring that to you. They used to be 15-round fights. It's a really interesting deal. Now, if you want to know the best ever, I am convinced that it's Tyson. I would listen if that was Fury or that was Iron Mike. But when you do talk about the great boxer, and Fury's very unique because of his size. You know, Fury barely beats the scale. Barely. And that's very uncommon. Most big men can't fight. They just can't move around. They're just too slow. And there's all sorts of things against them. They can't do the work. They can't get in the gym. They can't jump the rope. And they just can't. There's just stuff against them. You look at Muhammad Ali, he was 198 pounds when he won his first heavyweight championship. You just have this huge size difference, right? You got Iron Mike Tyson, much shorter for that division, 220 pounds in his prime. It's a very, very different fight. It's a very interesting fight. It's one of these things we could only dream of. But do you guys agree with me? I mean, what would you do if you put Mike Tyson in there? Which is the answer. Mike Tyson was the best. But who would you put him with? I mean, Joe Frazier would be real interesting. But I feel as though George Foreman would be more so because of George's very clear ability to take those shots. Then you got Tyson Fury, who just on size alone could absorb more. I mean, it's a fun game to play. I'm going to stick by my examples because they're strong. They're very good about boxing. It is a very limited thing. And if you want to be a top 10, raise your hand. You'll be in the top 10. Can't do that in any other sport in the world. But if you want to be number one, that's a hell of a hard road.